I'm doing the 282mm brake upgrade on the Civic. At the moment it's got the 240 something millimeter brakes, which is quite small considering I've actually going to up the power a lot. So what I've got is, these are quite rare, at least in the UK, these arms, because you can't just slap the brakes. These are from an Integra Type R DC2. You can't just slap these brakes calipers on a normal EF, say for example the 1.4 GL hubs or something like that, or even the 1.6 non-VTEC hubs. You can't just slap them on. You actually need the VTEC hub, so from the 1.6 VTEC Civic or the 1.6 VTEC CRX from, say, I think 88 to 91. So these are really rare. I managed to get hold of some, and now I've got these brakes. Now the discs are quite worn, which is a pity because they look like they were quite nice ones. They've got green stuff pads by EBC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on. I'm going to need to take it kind of to bits first, and I've got the master cylinder and brake booster, and again this is from a DC2 as well, on Integra Type R. You can see on the side of this it's a Nissan, and it also says 1 on it, which I believe it means it's a 1-inch master cylinder MC. So I can put that all on. I'm taking the engine out anyway, so I'm going to put that on at that point. But back onto these. So what I've already done, and I'll put a link in the description of the other video that I stated about whacking the old ball joints out. So you see there's no ball joints, and there's no ball joints in that one. So I'll link that, but it's quite easy to do. And then what I'm going to do is take to bits this whole hub assembly. So considering there's these discs are actually stuck on here because of the rust and stuff, what I'm going to do is actually, it's moving a bit, but what I'm going to do is actually take off this disc. So my favourite tool for taking these little screws out is this impact driver. I've probably mentioned it before, but it is a really good tool. And basically you've got to set it to left. So there's an arrow. There's an arrow there. There's the left, and then you basically just put it on your screw. Then kind of, this one's already off, but you kind of set it against that, press down a little bit, and turn it slightly, and then just thump it with a large hammer, which is a club hammer. One of these, and then yeah, it will come off. If you don't do that, you can round them off, and it's a pain because if you round off the head of that with a normal screwdriver, for example, then you have to drill them out, and then you have to get rid of the end if you can be bothered to do that, or just leave them as pegs. It's all just a pain in the ass. So really do use one of these impact drivers. At this stage it can be best to put it in a vise, and then you can undo these two 17mm and these two 12mm up here. These are for the sliders, the 12mm. The 17mm are what holds the whole caliper onto the hub. So you just do those. I usually use a nice single hex, small amount of force, and then yeah, just take those bolts off. Then when you've taken these 12mm fully out, you can just give it a few whacks with a dead blow hammer, and then it will come out. There we go. So that's the caliper off. Some crap on it. That's one side. You can see what we're working with here. So we can take out the pads next. The screwdriver. Just go for a flat head. I usually just punch it a couple of times here in line with the metal surface, and it'll start to come off, and the same the other side. So I've taken one pad out, and then this is the other one coming out of that. It's good to leave everything as it was, particularly if you want to inspect the wear see if you might want to use it again. I mean, it all looks pretty bad, but actually a lot of this is just surface rust. I'll probably end up buying new discs and pads and stuff, but it's just good to kind of keep everything out as it was. Then we can come and take these bolts 17mm fully out, then take that whole thing off. Just place these 12mm back in there so I know where they came from, and then taking this 17mm out and just undo the last one. There we go. And then this whole hanger come off like so. Set that down, and then then basically there's nothing really holding this disc on, so the disc will come off. And that's just with the hub itself. This is the point you can start assessing things. One thing to assess is the wheel bearing gone? You could obviously do that before, but since the whole thing's stripped, and you can just basically, you can feel, especially with two hands, you can feel that there is actually a bit of movement on there. It's not terrible, it spins freely enough, but yeah, there is some movement on there, so I'll probably be looking to change the wheel bearing on this, and then may as well do the other one as well. This would also be the point, if you can do the wheel bearing, you could shove in some longer studs, you know, so it depends what wheels you're running and stuff, but you might want to put in some longer studs than that. Then also we can have a look at the caliper itself. So I like to look at the sliders, so you can see that one's okay. Sometimes they make a kind of clicky noise, or they're sticking, so these look fairly good. I'll probably pull them out and re-grease them anyway, but just good to know that they're, at least the actual cylinders they're running are in good shape. And obviously all the springs are here and stuff, which is good. And then the caliper itself, you know, it's pretty minging in terms of the stuff on it, but the actual shape looks fairly decent. And then you really want to check that this seal's any good. You can sometimes see that they crack. This actually looks pretty decent. So yeah, I'll probably just try and clean them up a bit. Might even paint them. Yeah, just make them look a bit nicer. But yeah, this all looks fairly decent. And then obviously the hub itself, you know, I've already taken that lower ball joint out, but if that hadn't been done, you check if that's any good. Check it's all straight. I've got one missing 10mm that's been snapped off in air. It's no big deal, I'll just have to drill that out and re-tap it possibly. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, the heat shield as well. Splash shield, I should call it. Basically just check if it's all corroded. A lot of these get really corroded, and then you get to the situation where they start vibrating, or if they're bent and on the wheel, they can start scraping. It sounds really, really bad. You think, oh my god, what's wrong with the car? It's just the heat shield. They're quite commonly bent. This one's even bent at the bottom here anyway, so yeah, you can bend that all back when you're ready to put it on the car, and just check that it's all good. And other than that, yeah, I just need to tidy everything up, and obviously do the same to the other side as well. You know, just because they come from the same car doesn't mean they're going to be in the same condition necessarily. The calipers could be a different age, the wheel bearings could be a different age, so let's go through and just check everything. The disc itself, you can just check if you were going to reuse them. Check for the lip. There's actually no perceivable lip really on here, a tiny bit. Check for scoring and stuff. These are just corroded in terms of just some surface corrosion. Here's the snapped off bolt, 10mm, so that one's fine, this one's not. So the first thing I'm going to do is just basically sand that off flat, just so I've got something to work with. Actually almost flat itself anyway, make sure it's flat, and then use a centre punch. This is for the drill to locate. You find the exact centre, you just push down and it will click and give you a perfect centre. There we have it, there's the centre point. If you don't like what you've done, you can just file it flat again and have another go, but that looks pretty central to me. And then get the drill out. It might look a little bit to the right, but it's not, just because some of this material to the left here is basically being moved over, but that's pretty much the centre of there. You find the centre, and then give it a couple of punches, move it away, and you can see it's made the punch mark. So you can see here I started with a 3mm, 3.5, then 4mm, and went actually right into it with 4mm. Going through the front and back with 5mm. Now I'm going to get my tap out. So here's my tap kit, and you want the M6 by 1.0 tap, and you can always say that it's the right one, because if you go down to it with the screw, that this is just a standard 10mm head screw that Honda use, bolt that Honda use I should say, and if you put that next to there, you'll see, hard to do with one hand, but you'll see that all those threads line up, and if you put it next to it, you can't pull the threads away from each other, and that definitely means that they're the correct ones. So that's what you want, M6 by 1.0. So first of all, you want to make sure there's no crap on the tool itself or on the workpiece. So once you're happy with that, you need to make sure that this is nice and straight, which it is, and then just slowly turn it in, and then every turn or so back it off a little bit, and what that does is allows the swarf to be cut and goes up these three lines in the tool, you see. So just go in a bit and then back it off, and then go around a bit more and back it off, and keep on doing that, and then you can chuck a couple bits of WD-40 down there just to keep on lubricating that thread as it's cut. So here we go, I've started now, so then I will keep on going and then back it off, and then thread it in a bit more, back it off, do a bit more, back it off. Used a couple of squirts of WD-40 down there as well. You can hear it cutting. Then you want to wait until you get through, which I almost am. So once you're happy with all that, you can try the bolt in there, and yeah, it threads in really nicely, so that's all good. I mean, it's actually quite a good policy to go through every single thread you have and chase the thread if you have time, just because it'll make it much nicer later. A lot of crap and debris gets in them, and you know, whoever had the car before you could have messed up any threads anyway, so it can be a good idea to chase the threads around. I've got another 10mm there as well, so I might go ahead and do that. So here we are, the upright is in the vise in this orientation. I'm going to put some copper slip around there, and I'm going to put this in, which is the lower ball joint. So that goes in there like that, and then you need to hammer it down, and for that I like to use a 32mm socket. It fits nicely over the top, and then strike it on this extension. Now this extension I don't use for anything else other than whacking things in, so you know, that's why it's all clubbed at the top here. So yeah, so just use an extension you're not too worried about, and then yeah, so first of all, copper slip. So put some copper slip in there, it's all nice, and then these are the parts I'm going to be using. So these are just, you know, ball joints, left or right hand side doesn't really matter. You know, there's all different, this is first line, but you know, pick whichever ones you want. And yeah, then we're just going to put this in here, like so, try and get it square, and start doing some taps with a 32mm on the extension. So this just shows what it looks like with the articulation in having that in there. So you can really see that this little wobble extension just allows that, and then have it through here, and then club it with the large hammer. You know when you're the whole way home, because you see the line around here, and that's for your circlip here. So then you could go ahead and put your circlip in, And this is a bit of a weird one, but usually they have the holes in so you can spread it. So hoarding sometimes works out for you. These are crap. Very difficult to open these circle up apart. These are the ones you want with the reverse pliers, the little holes in them. So that goes the little reverse pliers going like that, and then you might have a hope in hell of getting this thing in. So this is more like it. So I've got this in here, and I can just kind of work it down into the position it needs to be in. Usually use a flathead as well to help with that, and just push it down. I'll show you when that's done. This is pretty much the whole way home now. I can just kind of just go on this leg, push it in, and that's it. And then I just like to skate the tool, skate this little circlip round, go back in here, and then just go round and just check it's the whole way home. Seems to be, and that's how you do it. So now I've got the brakes to do, as I've done the ball joints. So first of all, wire brush the hub for surfaces, and then I put a little bit of copper slip on the back just so you can get the discs off eventually. And then I've got some EBC brakes. This is the part number, I think, but they're from a MG ZR 160 with 282mm discs. If you don't have access to MG brakes, which you can purchase yourself, I think you can probably just get Integra ones, and then just have the disc bore spacing change. But we're lucky enough to have this car over here because it's 4x100, which is obviously what my hubs are, but it's 282mm actual diameter of the disc, so that's all good. These are quite nice ones. They're grooved, so yeah, and vented, obviously vented standard, but yeah, they're grooved as well, so it's nice. And I'm going to put them on here, so I'm just going to build up those. So first of all, wire brush, copper slip, then put the discs on with the little screws. So copper slip, check, and then just put this on here, the disc brake. That's it. So then just put these little screws in. They're the ones with the chamfer on. So just put 2 in each hub. So then what I need to do is wind the piston back into the caliper. Best way to do that is just remove this hanger off there. So you just clip it out of these the rubber boots off there, and then pull that off. So do that first. Then you just pick the right size disc from your tool. You shove this little jobby over it. It's like a little collar, and then that goes up against there, and put it in your caliper. Then you can just basically wind this back, and this will basically start forcing the piston back into its hole. So really what you want to do is don't make the common mistake of trying to turn this. You leave that just tight in there, and then with a spanner, or as I'm going to use probably industrial spanner, quite a big size, then just turn that anti-clockwise and it'll push it in. The setup, and after winding that anti-clockwise in, you'll see that that's now flush in there, so we can get a thicker, new pad in. Just be careful, it might piss out a load of brake fluid from the caliper as you squeeze it if it's taken off a car, so careful with that one. So now I can just turn this round clockwise and then just take this whole assembly out, and then I'm going to lube up these two sliders with some CV boot grease. Less is more when it comes to doing this. Is there some CV Lith Molly grease, just a little spread of that on there, and don't go too crazy. And then we can get the slider and just put the slider back in, and so like that, and then just slide that thing down in there and put the seals back over it. These are the famous green stuff pads. I've never actually used them before, so I don't know if they're any good or not, but you know, they're meant to be fairly decent. They're made by EBC as the part number. So I've basically just pushed this slider back in after obviously got lubricated the pistons back in there. Now I can actually fit these little pads, and then basically what you notice is you get two matching, or two sets of matching. So one's like this, and then one's with a bit of metal on, and the metal bit goes in the piston side of the caliper. So I'll just what I like to do also is just put a little bit of copper slip on the edges here. So just around there, both sides, not on the back of the pad because it's got this anti-squeal material, so that you don't need to put it on that. But if you didn't have that, I would put it all over the back of the pad as well. So you can just put a bit on the corners and then just work these just in, which is pretty easy. As always, the setup, you always put that first leg in there, and then with the metal tab, the end with the metal tab, which is here, you just use that in order to try and get that into the lower bit just there. One down and one to go. So this is it, pads in and ready to go onto the hub. So there we have it. It's the caliper is over the disc, and then I've copper slipped these two 17mm just to go on the back in there, tighten up. Okay, a couple of finishing touches. I usually put a bit of copper slip on the slider bolts, which is that one and that one, the two 12mm. And while you're here, you may as well see if the bleeder screw fits, or turns. So that's an 11mm, and I just shock it off. Don't just try and lean on it, just shock it off. It'll have more of a chance. So that's actually moving, which is great news. Otherwise this would be a bit pointless. And if you just about to put it in the car, I tend to put a bit of copper slip on the spline there, which is for the drive shaft. But I'm not going to put this straight on the car now, so I'm not going to do that so you don't get any crap in it. But just before I put it on the car, I'll copper slip that, and then obviously copper slip the threads to these two bolts, which are just for just actually hold. I think they hold the flexi line, so you can just copper slip them as well. So that's pretty much it. Obviously I copper slip the threads on that as well. I just love the copper slip. Anything that I want to actually take apart eventually I will copper slip. Some people tell you not to. It's just my style. That's what I do. Especially if I'm probably take it to bits again at some point in the future. It's always a good idea. So that's about it. I suppose one other thing I would do is I'm going to try and undo this flexi line, because it's obviously been cut, but I've got the braided hoses, so I'll just check that that's moving as well. I'm not entirely sure what size that is, but I'll put it up on the screen. So just check that moves. So this is the finished article. All the hubs are done. You can see the discs, pads, and the ball joints. New ball joints both in there. So they're ready to fit to the car. Obviously check that there's nothing on the discs that you don't want there to be, such as a copper slip or whatever. Then yeah, put them on. So that job's done.